Hello, welcome to Mike's Mets Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Pashota, and a happy Tuesday to you. We are recording the day after the Mets' tough loss previous night to the Philadelphia Phillies. They would lose that game 5-4 after leading 4-2 going into the the top of the ninth. And Edwin Diaz, Mets closer, all-star closer, one of the best closers in baseball, if not the best closer, comes up and with a 4-2 lead, promptly blows the game, gives up a solo home run, loads the bases, and then hits the batter, which was Alec Boehm. And all of a sudden we got tie game 4-4, and if you're a Met fan in the stadium, you came into that feeling pretty good about it. You're like, oh, okay, they're up 2 runs. You got Diaz on the mound. Phillies haven't looked particularly effective all game. All of a sudden, Diaz goes into full-blown meltdown mode, and this was something to watch. I mean, honestly, I haven't seen Diaz look this bad in quite a long time, and I had to look back in it just to see how long it's been. You have to, of course, subtract the 2023 season. So his last in pitching performances were in 2022, and we're looking at this, and you have to look at it and say how long it's been. You have to go back to May 2022, so it's been almost 2 years to the day, like that we saw him just completely implode like this. And this was the game May 24th, where he blew the save opportunity in San Francisco playing the Giants, where he looked absolutely terrible in that performance as well. He gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs. I believe it was Jock Peterson he gave up the blown save to, or the walk off hit, and that was that. And Diaz looked completely ineffective in that performance, and it was a little shocking to see. He saw his ERA skyrocket up to 2.89 at the time. Not dissimilarly, he looked pretty awful in this game, and now his ERA stands at 3.24. So that was the last time that we've had Diaz look really bad, and actually it was like the last time we've seen him blow save opportunities within 5 games. So this was his second blown save opportunity very recently. He had blown a save against the Tampa Bay Rays not that long ago. I believe it was 4 games ago that he blew that save opportunity. And this was like, I don't know, he's 16 appearances in. This was, there is no question that he is, fully kind of like back into like his routine in terms of how to perform. He just looks more like 2021 Diaz, or you could say early 2022 Diaz. It's notable to say that blown save against the Giants was Diaz's last blown save of the season. He was perfect from that point on, and of course went on that insanely dominant run during 2022, particularly the second half, where he looked completely unstoppable. He wasn't even walking guys; he was just striking everybody out. So there's a good chance that Diaz kind of takes this as sort of like, okay, this is my turning point on the season. I need to look better. I need to pitch better and figure out what I'm doing wrong. So what is Diaz doing wrong that's befuddled him so recently and is more of the issue or more of the cause for all of his issues recently? Part of it is, I think, pitch location. You're looking at like what he's throwing, and he's just throwing it. Like he's definitely overthrowing it. You can see he's kind of falling in love with his fastball at different times. He doesn't trust his slider totally all the time, and there's a certain amount of rust element, I think, to it, but also I think it's just he needs to be smarter about what he was doing. He had Nito behind the plate. Nito has caught him, I don't know how many times at this point, but many, many times over the years. The two should know each other and trust each other pretty well. And in this case, he was shaking off Nito a lot in this appearance, and then in the critical bases loaded hit by pitch sequence. Shook him off, decided to throw his fastball again, and ended up biting him in the ass because he hits Alec Boehm in the hands. Initially, it looked like a foul ball, looked like it went off the handle. That's what the Mets were arguing. It did not turn out that way, and now we got a tie game. So and Diaz overthrew it. He just completely lost track of where the fastball was going and just pops boom on the hands. And it was a situation where you're like, no, don't do what you're about to do. He So pitch location definitely part of it. It's also like pitch sequence. Like, why are you throwing your fastball that's in that situation or in that location? And knowing how to set up the batter to get what you need to get in this case, which was either a strikeout, ground out, fly out, whatever you need to do, get him out of this game, and completely just ate it. In this appearance was pretty ugly to watch. I don't really know what to say about him pitching like that. I can say that he looked pretty miserable. I don't know what to say other than this was, as a Met fan, it brings back memories of like bad Diaz, which was. It's funny to think about because I honestly do not think about those days in early 2022 that much about. And I remember that blown save against the Giants, but I thought it was just kind of like a one-off, like random, like blown save that he had during that incredible season. And basically it was, but like at the beginning of that year, I think people were still like pretty concerned about how badly he like pitched and like he had looked really good in April. I remember that year, but then May was starting to struggle again. People were like, "Oh no, like this is going bad again." And 2021 he had pitched fine, not great. 2020, was of course the abbreviated season, but gets the closer job taken away from him at one point. And of course, we don't really want to recall how bad he was in 2019, where he was arguably the worst closer in baseball in 2019, which was pretty shocking to watch him just completely suck. But we've become accustomed after 2022 for Diaz to be dominant Diaz, the best closer in baseball Diaz, and this was just a horrible rubber band moment. You're like, whoa, oh God, I forgot how bad he can be when he doesn't have it or when he's just pitching like an idiot. And he said there's nothing wrong with him. It's not like a matter of rust. Like I said before, he's 16 appearances in. He should be at this point pretty fresh. Know what he wants to do. Know how the rust element should no longer be there. But in this case, I would say he's just a little overeager in terms of what he wants to do on the mound and what he should be doing. And there's situations where, in this case, he didn't really do what he should have done, and that the pitching performance was ugly. I like and I'll go back to pitch location again. He gives up the home run to Bryson Scott, and this was real. Like you're like, why? How did he give up a home run to Bryson Scott? Well, he left it right over the plate. Like that's how you do it. Like it was a fat pitch that shouldn't have been there, and that's the problem. And he has gotten into a lot of trouble because he's not locating that fastball, or sometimes he's hanging the slider and he's just leaving it in the middle of the plate, and all of a sudden he gets ripped, and you're like, oh, well, that's how it happens. I mean, he's now given up. This was his fourth home run allowed this season. Keep in mind, in all of 2022, he only allowed 3 home runs, so he's already over that point on. We're only 16 games in, so clearly he is not locating his pitches the way that he was in 2022. You can call it rust. I call it more of just you don't really know where you're locating your fastball. And this was the biggest issue with him in 2019, which I know I just said I don't want to go back to 2019, but just very briefly, let's go back in time. He gave up 15 home runs that season, which unsurprisingly was probably the biggest issue with him, was just that he didn't know where he was locating that fastball. He was just leaving it all the plate. And as hard as Diaz throws, it's a pretty straight line. Like you can size it up pretty fast, like in terms of how to hit that fastball. And of course, when you're throwing that hard, all you have to do is just meet the ball, and you're gonna hit it, and you're gonna hit it out of the park. So it's really critical where he's locating that pitch. He's not throwing it dead center. He's not throwing it too high. And if you have a low ball here, you're not throwing it too low. You have to know your hitters and know where you're throwing that ball. And there are too many times this season where he has just looked like he's just throwing, and it's just going all over the place. In this appearance, he somehow threw 30 pitches. I was looking at it, and I'm like, how did he throw 30 pitches and face 8 batters? It was crazy. And at no point was like Mendoza like, I need to get this guy out of here. He's completely imploding on the plate. I mean, like you trust your closer at that point. He looked like the worst I've seen him in such a long time. Really going back about 2 years. You got like look back at like I just haven't seen him look that bad before, and it's pretty distressing when you think about like this is the guy you trust in these situations, and you trust after your starting pitcher is given a impressive start, your bullpen's held it together for the most part, and is keeping it to get to you in the ninth inning. You're supposed to step in at that point, particularly with a 2-run lead, and not let it get out of hand when you're facing your division rival in a game where they're the first place team and you have a chance to take a game against them. You take it, particularly when you're playing at home. And to watch them, and by them I mean Diaz, just eat it like he did tonight. It was just an absolutely horrendous performance. And it really does come down to, I believe, pitch location, pitch sequence, and I guess more in a little bit. It's just confidence, really. I mean, like he has not looked 1,000%. I mean, like you can look at his stats right now and we'll look at them together. He has 25 strikeouts now, I believe, after last night. Yeah, 25 strikeouts and 16 2/3 innings pitched. That puts him at 13.5 strikeouts per 9 innings on the season. With the 2 walks last night, he's up to 6 walks on the season, which was he only allowed 18 walks all of last year. His strikeout rate's down, the walk rate is up, and of course, most concerningly, the home run rate is up. He's now up at 2.2 home runs per 9 innings pitched. For reference, he was at 2.3 home runs per 9 innings pitched all 2019. So he's right on pace for that situation. So he needs to right whatever he's doing wrong at this point. Can he get to that point again? I have no idea. It is really a question of whether or not he kind of looks at this as, okay, I need to take what I've learned in this pitching performance and know not to do that again. And he's got to consult with Jeremy Hefner, and he's got to consult with Tomas Nido, who's going to be probably the primary catcher during these situations. Maybe see Omar Narvaez also, but with Francisco Alvarez out, he's got to trust Nido. I do not know why he was shaking off Nido in that situation. It was a really, really stupid decision on Diaz's part, and it cost him. It really did. You have to look at him and say, "Geez, okay, that was the real screw up situation. You cannot do that. You can't do something like that." And we'll see what he takes from this, and I hope he does figure out what he's doing wrong in this situation. He going back to 2022 when he made the blown save against the Giants. So it was May 24th, 2022. That was his 19th appearance. It was his 3rd blown save of the season. So pretty much right where we are. It was, like I said before, his last blown save of the season. At the time, it raised his ERA to 2.89. He had 34 strikeouts and 9 walks. And it was his 3rd, and he allowed 3 home runs at that point as well. So his numbers are actually like right on for that point. So he was at a similar tipping point in 2022, and needed to kind of make that change. And then all of a sudden, from that point on, he is completely a different pitcher. He takes it in a completely different direction. That May was just an ugly month. He had such a bad month in May, and needed to kind of like figure out what he was doing wrong in that situation, and did. He figured it out. Can he figure it out in 2024? Like I said, he has to understand what he did in the situation, and know that he cannot go down this road again. He cannot fall back into 2019 mode. And you can give, the oh well, he hasn't pitched in a year plus, and there's going to be those periods where you're going to have just like look rusty and not know what you're doing. I mean, the velocity's there, the slider's still breaking the way it should be. It is just location. It is location and pitch sequence that is undermining him the most right now, and he has to fix this, or else it's going to go bad very quickly. And it was going to go bad in 2022. That was really the tipping point. This is his tipping point. He cannot have another game like he did against the Phillies this year, or else he's going to go back into that, oh, well, he's talented. He just keeps blowing saves opportunities and doesn't know where he's throwing his fastball. And it will get him killed. It will. We have seen it in the past. He cannot repeat history, or else he becomes the joke Edwin Diaz that we saw in 2019, and not the save god, the closing god of 2022, who enraptured us all. And it's the narco music's there. He looked way too much like 2019 Diaz last night. It was a really distressing and disgusting performance, and I was just watching that game. I was just completely oh my god, I cannot believe he's doing this again. It felt like an absolute kick to the gut, and I hope beyond hope like that we're never going to see that point in him again. It really left a terrible taste in the mouth. Let's hope Edwin Diaz knows what he's doing and can figure out what he's doing wrong in this situation. Listen to your coaches. Listen to your catcher, Edwin Diaz. Do not do what you did last night. Thank you for listening to the Mike Spence podcast. Please be sure to follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Finally, please also follow the podcast Twitter, which is Mike Spence Pod, all one word. Appreciate your time and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening. Let's go, Mets.